So I wanted to make one more one-shot video in my old setup. And if you guys aren't familiar, my one-shot videos are just me doing one take on something I care about. And I'm actually going to do one take because I've got so many videos I need to edit. I can't spare any more time. But just because I was speaking to someone today about British politics, I wanted to talk about the state of the UK, and I'm just like very depressed about it these days. And I don't know about any of you guys. If you're a similar age to me, I'm nearly 30, and you've cared about politics for the longest time, and I've cared about politics since I was like 14, right? So I've been following politics for a long time. And even though you're a teenager, you go to university, you get more engaged with these topics, so you actually pay attention properly. And seeing all the far right stuff in like 2014, 2015, and it all being fringe and people treating it like it's a fringe thing, and then to just see it like within 10 years absolutely take over everything. And I spoke about this before. It doesn't just take over in terms of electoral politics, although it does. It takes over through shifting the Overton window so far right, nearly every single political party becomes indistinguishable from each other on certain issues. In the UK, that's Israel, refugees, migrants, immigration, uh, capitalism, cutting and gutting the welfare state. It's like a uniparty. It's a uniparty, but there's like nine parties that all believe the same exact thing. I'm happy the Greens have, of course, elected a socialist leader, and there is a third, well, not a third, but a new socialist party coming. So maybe that would do something. But the one direction where we're going is Nigel Farage as prime minister or someone from Reform as prime minister. And it feels like I've just been watching a car crash for 10 years, especially since Brexit. And this is just the conclusion. And people often say to me, like, why do you hate liberals so much? Like, why do you hate liberals more than conservatives? And I hate liberals so much because they enable this and they take the energy that people have, rightfully are disgusted by people like Farage, and they suck it all up. So there is no alternative. So Labour, for example, so many people telling me, thankfully not as much in the US, but like, oh my God, you have to vote for Labour because if they don't get as big as a majority as they think they're going to get because you didn't vote for them, then they can't do all the wonderful things. What good have they fucking done with their majority? Absolutely fuck all. And I didn't vote for them because I knew this would be the case. I'm pretty sure I said on election day that the UK will get more authoritarian under Starmer because he is this cop, right? Creating the conditions for someone like Farage to campaign on a libertarian platform. And although we know he's not libertarian, that's what he's been doing. Reform are the only major party to oppose the online safety bill. Reform are pretending the UK has a free speech crisis that they don't agree with, even though Farage does agree with the crackdowns on free speech. And they're playing this, so they're the Freedom Party. Like, literally, they're the Freedom Party, and they're against, like, the consensus in Westminster. And Keir Starmer stands for nothing, so he keeps trying to pivot, making the Labour Party far right, but no one likes it still because you weren't doing that originally, so they all stick with Farage, and there's just no alternative. And that's why it's depressing, because I speak to so many people and we all have the same problems. And I'm a communist, so I know this is the way to talk to people, but the culture war is just all consuming, and this refugee boat shit, it's all the media can talk about. And when it's all the media can talk about, that's all people parrot because we have such a terrible education system in this country. People don't know where to direct their anger. So you don't direct your anger at the 1%. And the UK has such ingrained classism and a class system where being a journalist and a banker and a politician is the same job and it's interchangeable. So many people have been all three and they run the country. No one's mad at them. No one's mad at people not paying their fair share of tax. No one's mad at all the money laundering that goes on throughout Europe in London. No one's mad about any of this shit. They're mad about refugees and migrants, some of the most vulnerable people. And this is obviously a problem that's going to get worse because of climate change. And we're just not going to respond humanely. And it's just going to empower people while the UK government sits on its hands. Well, it doesn't. If you're a leftist who wants to criticise Palestine, then they're going to enable the police to arrest you and charge you with terror offences. And there's a game called Watch Dogs Legion. I've brought this up a few times. It's set in 2030, and it's about London as a dystopia. It came out in 2020, so it must have been made between 2017 and 2020. And it's just so right about where the UK is heading. In that game, the main scapegoat is Europeans and European migrants, right? But it feels so close to what we have. And even just the far right in that game, it nails it. And I just I hate being a leftist sometimes and just looking at this and knowing it's coming. What does that benefit for me? I just feel dread all the time at looking at this and just seeing, our leaders do nothing. And that's the one thing you have a battle as, I think, as a more informed leftist. So, every single political party is completely captured by capitalism, is completely in bed with the system. So you know that, and you know that then because of that, they're going to act in a certain way that's predictable. So you shouldn't get your hopes up. Like, they're going to act in a certain way. They're going to act in a certain way in regards to refugees, migrants, and how they'll distract people with these issues so they can, protect the capitalist class and stuff. But there's still that battle within me of like, why are they so bad? Like, won't they do anything? Why won't they stop this? And yeah, it's just a very depressing place to be in. And I keep tweeting this or posting this to Blue Sky. I'm like, when will the world get better? Does anyone want to give me an answer? When will the world get better? So I just have to live my life watching everything get worse because everyone who's evil runs the whole world, and no good people run the whole world. And even good people who get into like systems of politics, like look at AOC, for example, right? Just a really average person, seems like a good person fundamentally, and then she's doing stuff like standing up on a campaign stage saying Kamala Harris is working tirelessly to for a ceasefire in Gaza and all these fucking lies. And it's like that's what it does to people, and that's the system is designed to do that. Where Obama was a perfect case study where he goes in a certain way, he comes out a different person who did all these war crimes. And what I say that in regards to the UK is, people sometimes think Zach Polanski, Zara Sultana, they'll save us, but I just don't think anyone who could save us would ever be allowed to be in that position. And you saw that with Corbyn and how the whole of every political party, including his own political party and the media, destroyed this guy. So I just feel so doom-appalled and hopeless about the UK. I'm not completely hopeless about the whole world, but I do think the UK and the US is doomed. And I know people don't want to hear that because a lot of people say, well, as leftists, you have to always be an optimist. I think sometimes as a leftist, you have to be realistic about what countries have so much problems and are so captured by neoliberalism. There's going to be no revolution. People have way too much to lose. People are so, and also with social media, brain rot, AI, and how bad everything's getting for everyone, you can either go one of two ways. In the past, what caused revolutions is if people don't work, they starve. And people don't have houses, people don't have property, people don't have mortgages. Most people didn't have that. So when you're so desperate, and it's the majority of you, of course you're going to work together to change the system. But that's the trap of neoliberalism. Now most people have something to lose. They have property, they have personal property, and they have private property. They have an investment in the system existing for the foreseeable future. So even if there's like 20% of us who want to like rise up and create a new government and create a new political system, that is not enough because most people don't want that to happen. And you have the police class who will make sure they will fight tooth and nail to ensure nothing changes. But that's what I'm saying with the UK. It's just so ancient, the class order, and who runs this country is so ancient. I just don't, and under like neoliberalism, I just don't see people ever getting desperate enough. And that fits in with my video about like Klarna and AI jobs and the future of, even when people can't afford things, you start just accumulating massive debt. Again, people couldn't do that in the past. You didn't have access to all these luxury goods. You didn't have access to all these consumer products. And then you have now even it getting worse where everyone has access to loans. Really easily, everyone has access to loans. So that helps prop up consumer capitalism and ensures people are docile because you can sedate yourself with the luxuries, because the luxuries no longer are just for the ruling class. Just like how property and capital aren't just for the ruling class anymore. Most people are divided because of neoliberalism. We're all competing against each other, but we're all just brainwashed in this system to only care about ourselves. So, like I say in many videos, you don't watch my channel to feel better about yourself, but it's just increasingly hard to not think the UK is completely cooked at this point. And seeing Elon Musk like back Tommy Robinson, and remembering when he was so culturally taboo to even talk about, and now he has like a million followers on Twitter being backed by this guy. Like Elon Musk wants Tommy Robinson to run reform and shit like that. And it's just like it's just not getting better, and I know why, but it's still hard. Like that's what I think. And we're not even talking about what's happening in Gaza right now in this context. I'm still feeling really depressed about everything, and I think it's important sometimes. I think to recognize like the reality and not delude yourself. And I'm not saying don't do the good things. And this is the one thing I want to end it on. When people often embrace doomerism, they use that as an excuse to never even rail against the system. My point of view is you do the right thing because it's the right thing. You don't do the right thing for reward. And maybe that's a hangover from being raised Catholic, and maybe some of you can relate. You get raised religious and you're told you do good to be good. And maybe there's a promise of divine reward for some people, but I feel like as someone who doesn't believe in any religion and doesn't believe in life after death, you do good because you want to make your like social environment and people, you want to make their lives better, right? So I will keep like speaking up and doing good and doing all the things because I believe it's the right thing to do, not because I feel like it's going to contribute to a socialist revolution. We do have our element in socialism that we know we probably won't see the future that we're starting, and maybe that will happen and we won't be around to see it, and wouldn't that be lovely? But I think that's really important to ground yourself in like a more moral philosophy of you do activism, you spread awareness, you do all the good things because you want to be a good person and you want to contribute in a positive way to society, no matter how bleak the situation may be in a more, I guess, structural way. And I feel like that's really important because I don't think having doomerist tendencies or even being a doomer about the world, I don't think that's a bad thing. Because I think to be a doomer, you have to be aware. But I do think not you have to even reject it, but just realize you have one life on Earth. You're going to be dead forever pretty soon. Like most of us are going to be dead forever pretty soon. And you have to think about what you can do on your time on Earth. And like I said, these things that happen and have happened, you read about revolution and you think, why can't that happen now? Why can't we do that now? And you just have to realize there are loads of people who wanted to do that and it never happened. Loads of the people who wrote the theory you now like died before seeing it implemented successfully. And they never knew what would happen. And that's what you just have to remember. And I feel like you can even be structurally blackpilled in terms of thinking the world is just getting worse and I have to watch, and keep up what you do in your own personal life as like a moral person. And I feel like that is just an important message for leftists to, I don't give a fuck if you embrace doomerism because I consider myself a bit of a doomer as well, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't try. And also I think part of even resisting fascism and capitalism is not giving in. Don't just become a zombie. Don't become an NPC. Don't just use AI. Don't just consume slop and delude yourself and just rot your brain to sedate yourself. Because I just don't think in a personal way that's good in terms of contributing to society. Part of the reason I'm also generally pretty against like things like alcohol, but like that's for a complete other video. But yeah, thank you for listening to my rant about the UK being cooked, and we can have like a therapy session in the comments. But yeah, thank you for watching my one-shot video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments.